I think walking out for the first time in an England shirt probably be the proudest moment. I just think I look back on walking out to bat and seeing Kevin Peterson stood at the other end, someone who I watched as a teenager and as a kid growing up, and I just couldn't stop smiling. I was living my childhood dream, and ever since have been. And always trying, if I'm ever going through a bit of a lean spell or things aren't quite falling for me, then try and look back at that moment and remember what that feeling was like, and just almost try and embrace that really excitable young lad, and bring that into the current situation, because I'm still am living the dream. So that would probably be the one thing that stands out, something that I'll always refer back to and look fondly on. No, I haven't. For me, it's about, without trying to sound very boring and cliche, it's about looking after the immediate future, looking after this next series. And it's been nice to come into it off the back of some runs, but that doesn't guarantee anything coming into the next game. And it's taken a long time to play these 100 Test matches. Probably not as long as a lot of other players have, but it's still a long time, and it'll take a long time to potentially do that again. I look at Sachin as the best player to have played the game, and had the privilege to play against him a couple of times. But ultimately, for me to get anywhere near him, I'll have to play I have to play a hell of a lot more Test cricket. And right now, I've just got to concentrate on trying to be the best I can in this series, in the next series beyond that, and just keep trying to get better all the time. And hopefully runs and the rest of it will look after itself. For me, as a young lad, I was always very small. So it took me a long time to grow and develop physically. So I had to find a way of getting the ball off the square against the spinners in particular, when there wasn't any pace to work with. And the sweep shot was probably the one shot that I could actually generate the most power with. So learning to play that very well was pretty much my only scoring option for a large proportion of my junior career. I think since then, tried to develop my game a little bit more broadly, worked with some brilliant players and some brilliant coaches. I've watched a lot of cricket and a lot of guys around the world, how they go about things. And yeah, for me, I suppose it's just understanding, whether you play it on line or on length, depending on the surface, whether the bounce is going to be an issue as much as the lateral movement and turn. Trying to factor all that in and then calculating so the risk is in your favour, if you like. There's minimal risk to playing the shot. But as well, I actually. I think my club ground for an English ground actually spun quite a lot, quite consistently. So we had a very good overseas pro who had Test experience in Nadim Khan, who I got to practice against all the time, speak to about playing spin, and even from being 12, 13 years old, had quite a good education of how to go about. That side of the game, that side of batting. I'll just try and play, what I see in front of me. I think I won't go out there trying to look to dominate or defend. I will just try and play the ball that's delivered, and if I do that well enough for a period of time, hopefully I'll score some big runs. But he's a fine bowler. He's got a great record in India, and he's probably full of confidence off the back of that series. So. I've played against him before. I've scored some runs, and he's probably had the better of me a couple of times as well. And it's going to be a great little battle within the Test match. So they're the contests that you want to try and get the better of. But ultimately, if you're going to score big runs in any series, you're going to have to play all of the bowling well. And just having that ball by ball mentality will probably serve me best throughout. Well, firstly, I look at those three guys and I try and learn as much as I can from them. I think it's obvious that they are three of the leading players in the world and have been for some time, and it'd be silly not to watch how they go about things, how they construct innings, how they manage different passages of play. how they manage their own games as well and keep evolving and getting better all the time. And then try and add that to my own game. They all play the game very differently, have different styles. And I suppose that's the beauty of the sport, is that there's not one right way of batting or bowling. It's that everyone can figure it out for themselves. In terms of those individual battles, for me, that's not the most important thing. It's not something that I will look at. What I will look at is us trying to win this series. And for us to win this series, it's going to take 11 guys. Actually, it'll take us, the whole squad, at different points, coming in together and producing something special over some long, hard periods of play and managing pressure really well for long periods of time. So for me, that's what it's going to be about: is can we collectively pull together, build those partnerships both with bat and ball, and win out here. But that for me is how I'll view this series. Yeah, I think a lot of sides around the world will look at that series that's just happened in Australia and take huge amount of confidence from it. I think, huge credit to India for going there and winning. It's a very difficult place to go and win. We all know that. But it also, I think, teams will see that and will see that, it is possible to go and win away from home. And there is a lot of pressure on sides hosting. It'll be the same when we turn up in England and we host some brilliant sides coming over. There is a bit of pressure around that, and we should embrace that challenge. That should excite us. There's so many great opportunities that come with that, and as a side and as individual players, when you're given that opportunity to play, you just got to try and maximise that opportunity. Really try and make that count. And one thing that we have had more recent passes is that competition for places, a bit more depth within our squad, and not heavily reliant on certain individuals, which might have been the case a few years ago. So it's really exciting time for the team, and guys have just got to really grasp those opportunities if they get them.